Well, my name is Sam Rhodes, and I'm here with Wakezine, working with Ian Morris down in Charleston, South Carolina. And I've got with me Matt Field, local artist here in Atlanta. Matt's done a lot of murals, a lot of things actually. I'll never forget when I first met you, man. It was like you guys were walking on the street, and I'd never seen somebody express so much interest in a garden. I had a garden. I don't know whether you remember that, but anyway, it's kind of cool. So, glad to have you here.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
So, I guess the purpose of this is to try and ask you a few questions and find out. I'm curious because I've never really met a graffiti / mural artist before. And when you first told me that, I thought it was kind of cool. So, how'd you get into that?
I got into it when I was 12, and I've always been into art from a pretty young age, but I saw, I was like driving down the highway with my parents, and I just saw this like graffiti piece that was on a bridge. I was like, oh, it's dope. And I remember it had like a white outline and an orange fill-in, so I remember the colors pretty vividly, and it was a nice piece too.
That's really
amazing.
It was
like what we call like a wild style, where it was like a kind of a complicated piece. And yeah, I saw it and I was like, that's dope. I have to do that.
How old were you?
I was 12. That was that was October of 1995. So.
From there on out, it was sailing straight to the mark?
No, absolutely not, actually. I was really bad at it. I've always done it, but I wasn't really any good at it for like a long time, actually. It took me a lot of like extra work to be good at it. It wasn't until I met like an older, better writer from New York, from the Bronx, that like he gave me a name that I like stuck with, and like, you know, taught me all the rules, and like from there, that's when I started painting subway trains. For a brief period, it kind of, after 2001, it was like an impossible thing to do, really, because of all the security. But like before then, you know, there was a couple of years where you could like paint subway trains. So yeah.
Well, I would assume that painting subway trains carries some risk.
Absolutely, yeah, sure. Yeah, it's super dangerous.
What do they
dumb
do?
idea,
If you get caught, what happens?
Well, nowadays, I mean, you could like, of course you could get a trespassing charge, like even back then, you know, like a heavy trespassing charge, which I guess in some cities could carry like a felony. But after 2001, then you started to get like Homeland Security Act, and like you saw like a lot of beefed up security, and like, yeah,
It
just
became
really
impossible to do.
Well, in the United States, yeah, absolutely. And in Europe right now, it's going down, but even there, they're like, you know, after like the London bombings and Madrid, which Madrid is like a big graffiti train city, you know, it's getting harder for sure everywhere, but you know,
Well,
trains are the best.
Or I guess, is there sort of like a national association of train painters, or
Hell
you
no,
you guys seem to all kind of know each other.
That's like, yeah, they do actually, and you know, there's websites that you know they go on to and like chat back and forth. But no, man, you kidding me? The police would be like so far up their ass if anyone tried to do that. Like, yeah, right.
Well, yeah, I just heard you mention it several times that, you know, the people you know in different cities and all, so
Sure, yeah.
I assume there's some connection there, some way.
I mean, it's the internet. You know, back in like when I started, you didn't have the internet element of it, so it was harder to meet other writers. There was definitely like that real like anonymity, you know, where you're like you almost don't have that nowadays at all. It's like non-existent, really. You know, so yeah, no, I mean, it's easier through the internet.
Do you miss that?
Hell yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, you can't. That's probably why graffiti, like nowadays, you have like graffiti writers who can do it for a living. You know what I mean? Like, probably that wasn't the case back in the day, because it was just a lot. I would imagine it'd be a lot harder to like market yourself, and I don't know. There's just a lot of reasons, I think. But it's definitely, I think the internet's been good for graffiti. Sure.
Well, now you mentioned New York. Did you move to Atlanta straight from New York? Or?
No, I'm from South Florida.
Okay.
And I've lived everywhere, man. I lived in Montreal. I lived in Kansas when I started painting graffiti.
No
That's
way.
where I saw that bridge. It was in Kansas. So,
Really?
yeah, I lived there. Lived in I lived in Atlanta, then Southern California, back to South Florida, New York. Where else I was staying in a bunch of cities like here and there for like a month at a time. You know.
Which city was the best for graffiti?
For graffiti, California. But that was recently you can't really get away with it so much anymore either. They've really cracked down even on murals in Los Angeles. Los Angeles was, up in before like 2007, I'd say, or maybe 2009. Man, Los Angeles was like the place.
I think you were telling me one day that
it's
you had
destroyed.
Actually,
it's beautiful. There's graffiti everywhere. Yeah,
but I think you were telling me one day that you that one of the problems you had out there was gangs or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's gonna be everywhere. But yeah, that was like I definitely had like a couple run-ins for sure out there.
I kind of feel like your life might be on the
absolutely
red.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's not a good feeling, I doubt.
No, it's happened in Florida a lot too. That was a real problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
More so than police.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
because the police got their hands full with those guys. You know what I mean? Like, there's like police chasing them, but ultimately, like in towns like Miami, those people, like criminals, had control of that shit, man. So yeah, you weren't even like the police weren't even really a problem.
So
maybe
that's kind of controlled by another element altogether. Like, do you have like territories with murals and art? I mean, are you allowed to go anywhere?
Yeah, but there's people that try to act like that do that are like kind of. And you know what? There's people like that have earned that territory. You run into that problem a little bit here, and there's some guys, and it's well deserved. They've been here since like the '90s doing their thing, and they're like these areas are mine.
So they don't take too kindly to strangers coming in.
I mean, it's not like that either. I wouldn't say it's like that, but it can be like that, I guess. It's a funny world, man.
Yeah.
We got it's called the headache.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
Where's
like,
that come
just
from?
all of the like BS that you gotta like deal with in order like to go out at night and like paint a wall or train. There's like politics behind it.
Well, now you see a lot of stuff today, I guess my next question: how do you transition from like graffiti artists to where you start doing murals and all that? I mean, because murals seem a lot more legit, and they usually seem like they're commissioned.
It's a funny line, man. I don't know where. I don't really like. For me, I just wanted to keep painting, and I love doing it. So, and people would like come up and ask and stuff while I'll be painting. The number of people coming up. But I don't know, man. That's a funny line. I still like think about it a lot now. Like, like. When is it cool to like do that? Like it's a very fine line. I think the thing is, man, is you just as long as you're gonna do that. I guess this is me giving advice to someone who's thinking about it. As long as you're gonna do that, I think the main thing is you gotta give back. Like if you're gonna do a project for like a corporate person and put up some like graffiti shit, like you need to give back. Like you gotta go out like that night or that next day and like do something like unsanctioned. You know what I mean? It's like a karma thing.
So you gotta keep a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Because,
interesting.
it's meant for the people who started it. We're just doing it on trains, and like they wanted the whole city to just look at it. All they wanted was just to be seen.
Be noticed.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, and there's something really like pure about that. So you can't. You try to mess with it, and I've learned the hard way too. Where I've gotten into like too many jobs and just not going out. And like I felt it too. Like I felt bad with myself. You know what I mean? Like
in other words, it's become more of a corporate thing.
Or definitely. Or at least not even if you're not gonna go out and paint illegal graffiti, then you should at least put up some kind of like public mural that's like keeping true to the roots. No fucking corporate words or mentions and that shit.
Did you think some of the transition though? I just thought of this as you were talking. Do you think some of the transition is in aging?
Getting older?
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, like you don't run as quickly as you used to, perhaps.
Well, yeah, of course. My shoulder dislocates really bad, so I can't I'm kind of limited. I can't climb anymore, really, which sucks. But
and a lot of that
cuts out a lot of it.
A lot of that's used, right? I mean, if you're doing a train car, I imagine to get to the top, you're not.
Oh, I don't get. You don't have to get to the top on those. It's on the bottom. Sometimes you have a milk crate. I've gotten laughed at for doing that a couple times, but like you bring a milk crate to stand on or something because they're pretty high up,
Well,
but I don't climb. I can't really climb anymore.
Is that a given that you don't climb?
I just I used to.
I mean, do most people climb? I mean,
yeah, for sure, yeah. There's these spots we call them heavens. That's like rooftops and billboards.
You call them what?
The heavens.
Okay.
Because they're above you.
Really up.
In the clouds. So, like, yeah, those spots, unfortunately. So, to answer your question, though, yeah, the aging, sure, that's got something to do with it. Yeah.
Well, I know that we talked a little bit earlier, probably 4 or 5 months ago, about some of the stuff you've done here in Atlanta. What all have you done? I mean, I know a couple of pieces, but
yeah, sure, man. I've done quite a bit. Did a lot of when I moved here. I started doing like a lot of like I would just walk up to like a building owner and like, hey man, your wall looks really bad. Like you want a wall in there, and a lot of them I just came out of pocket and did. Got a bunch of private walls that I've done murals on. 2 city projects that I did through the office cultural fairs, like through the city, and then I did living walls.
Okay, so living walls. Now that was that was through the city as well.
No. Living walls is like its own like street art as well.
Oh, you mean it's everywhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, well, it's in town. It's
just Atlanta.
Yeah, but they do projects elsewhere too. Like they had a show, an installation over at Art Basel in Miami. I think it was last year or the year before, something like that. So they're pretty they're doing it. I used to work. There was like 2 years where I was working with them.
Well, how did they do? I mean, they coordinated everything in that particular project. I mean, you were just assigned stuff to do, or was it kind of like your wall, or you just?
I actually
did a little bit of.
Actually like, I got a lot of walls in Atlanta. Remember that if you want to paint here. I got a lot of walls, so like basically my first contribution for them was like they were having a difficult time like attaining walls, permission slips, walls. So I already had like a few from my driving around like talking to people, and I had actually stacked up so many that, and I still do, that I couldn't keep up with them. There's so I in turn gave them walls, but then like it led to like I don't know, doing all sorts of shit for them, man.
The politics.
No politics. No, just a lot. It's a busy like. If you're ever like helping those people out, like during that month of it's August, July, August. Oh my god!
Are they still doing that now?
Yeah, well, not this year, but I'm sure they'll be back.
Okay.
But that's a hectic like month. You just don't sleep for like a month, basically.
Good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's busy. Yeah.
Well,
if you're helping out, yeah.
I've always been curious, like when you talk about. I know over near the school where I teach, there, some of that area down there. I mean, it's not just a little underpass or anything, but the wall go for like.
Yeah, and I've got a couple murals right by your school too. One pretty much right across the street.
Is that part of Living Walls?
One of those was the one that I did was.
Okay.
And then actually, okay, so there's one right by you, which we'll have a picture of that. Show a picture of that.
Okay.
There's another bridge I did down the street from you, but there's 2 sides of the bridge.
It was the underpass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really long one.
Yeah.
Really big one. I gave the other side to Living Walls.
Okay.
Because I couldn't paint. That other side is so big, that mural. I actually couldn't afford to even paint the one side that I did. It was like 230 feet. Like nil money from the city.
Well, I really appreciate you coming tonight. I really thank you for this time.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can come back and be sure and check out Wakezine. I've given you the site and all. I think you really would appreciate it.
Yeah, I was looking at it when
what Ian's doing
a few minutes ago.
Super
Good job, guys.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem, man.